Hey guys,
Thank you.
Good to see you. Hey, Parm hat. I like that. Look at that. Look at these guys. Wow. Wow. What a crew.
Well,
What a crew. Hey Nadine, good to see you. Come on over. Good to see you, bud. Thank you.
well, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Parm Gill, and I'm the Conservative candidate in this great riding of Milton East, Halton Hills South, and I want to thank all of you for joining us this morning for this important announcement. And I have the honor of hosting Pierre Poilievre today for our Canada First announcement in my riding of Milton East, Halton Hills South, the riding that I've had the honor of getting elected twice and representing provincially. As I'm going around, this is one of the most important elections in our lifetime, and I'm talking to individuals in my riding door to door each and every day. One thing that I'm hearing loud and clear is that after this lost Liberal decade, the cost and crime has gone up and economy has gone down under the America's thumb. And it's clear that the Liberals do not deserve a fourth term. It is time to put Canada first and elect a Conservative government. The only individual that has the ability to take our country in the right direction and provide that strong leadership nationally is Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. So it is my honor to invite Pierre Poilievre to share the important announcement today right here in Milton East, Halton Hills South. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the leader of the Conservative Party and the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
Thank you very much. Merci, Parm. Merci, Parm. Merci, Parm. Merci beaucoup, Nadim Akbar. Thank you very much, Nadim Akbar, our other great candidate here to put Canada first for a change. And thanks to the workers who are wearing those stickers that say "Axe the Tax" on a day when we're going to announce cutting housing taxes by $100,000 a home. Une journée où on va annoncer notre plan pour couper les taxes sur le logement de $100,000 pour chaque maison, and to present the choice in the next election after the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy under America's thumb, whether we're going to whether we can afford a fourth Liberal term, or whether it's time for a change in government to axe taxes, build homes, unleash our resources, and bring home our jobs to stand up to Washington with strength. That's the choice in this election. Si on, après la décennie perdue des libéraux, avec les prix et la criminalité qui augmentent et l'économie qui est tombée sur la dépendance des Américains, est-ce qu'on peut les élire pour un quatrième mandat? Ou bien est-ce que c'est le temps pour un changement dans le gouvernement avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va couper taxes et impôts, bâtir des logements et libérer nos ressources naturelles pour confronter Washington avec la force, pour faire changement. But before I get into that conversation today, we have to address once again yesterday's historic mistreatment of Canada by President Trump. I condemn President Trump for keeping the tariffs on Canada, all while he offered a 90-day pause on tariffs for dozens of other countries. It remains a mystery why the president treats Canada worse than dozens of other faraway countries who are not America's best friend. And this, of course, happened after Prime Minister Carney boasted that he had had a productive call with President Trump and that he had made, quote, progress. What progress? There are more tariffs, American tariffs on Canada today than there were when Prime Minister Carney took office, while dozens of other countries have secured pauses. Now, I'm not blaming Mr. Carney for the fact that there are even more American tariffs on Canada now than there were when he took office, or for the fact that other countries got a pause in tariffs while he failed to secure one here in Canada. We will all work to end the tariffs on day one after the next election, regardless of who wins. But that's why the fact is that Mark Carney and no one else controls Donald Trump. That's why Carney's biggest election promise and distraction are empty. He's telling you to forget about the lost Liberal decade of rising costs, crime, taxes, and housing prices, because he's somehow a magical negotiator. But we're learning that that is not true. He does not control President Trump. No one does. What we do control is what we do here in Canada. And we know what we need to do in this country. And that is to reverse the Liberal policies that Mark Carney advised Trudeau to do, and that every present Liberal candidate and MP supported and helped put in place, the policies that have driven away our jobs and weakened our economy. We cannot afford a fourth Liberal term of rising crime and taxes and a falling Canadian economy. We need a change in government to axe taxes, bring home our jobs, and stand up to the Americans from a position of strength. And that is the choice in this coming election. Donc, avant de parler de mon annonce d'aujourd'hui, je dois dire quelques mots sur le fait que M. Trump a maltraité le Canada encore. Alors qu'il a annoncé une pause de 90 jours sur les tarifs douaniers visant des dizaines de pays, il a gardé en place les tarifs sur le Canada, sur notre acier, notre aluminium, nos autos, notre bois d'œuvre et plus encore. Réfléchissez pour un instant. Il a accordé une pause aux 12 pays à travers le monde, outre-mer, mais il a gardé les tarifs sur le Canada. Et ça, après que le Premier ministre Mark Carney se soit vanté d'avoir eu un appel productif, et je cite, avec le président, qui a permis de faire du, et je cite, progrès. Quel progrès? Il y a maintenant plus de tarifs douaniers sur le dos du Canada qu'il y en avait quand M. Carney est arrivé au pouvoir. Et il y a plus de pauses pour les autres pays qui ne sont pas là pour le Canada. Écoutez, je ne blâme pas M. Carney pour ça. Il ne contrôle pas M. Trump. Mais c'est exactement le point. M. Carney se présente avec une fausse promesse qu'il peut contrôler ce que M. Trump va faire. Personne ne peut le faire. Tous les candidats vont évidemment travailler pour mettre fin immédiatement aux tarifs et avoir un nouveau accord de libre-échange rapide. Mais on ne peut pas contrôler ce que M. Trump va faire. On doit se concentrer sur ce qu'on peut faire. Et il faut reconnaître que M. Carney veut vous faire oublier les décennies perdues des libéraux, d'augmentation de coûts de logement, de criminalité, de dette, de l'inflation, tout en disant qu'il va contrôler les décisions de Trump, ce qui est impossible. On va contrôler ce qu'on peut contrôler, et c'est-à-dire reconstruire notre économie faible en renversant les politiques libérales que Carney a conseillées à Justin Trudeau et que chaque ministre libéraux a mis en place depuis 10 ans. Le choix est de savoir si on peut se permettre un 4e mandat pour les libéraux ou si c'est le temps pour un changement de gouvernement avec des conservateurs qui vont couper les taxes et impôts, bâtir des logements, libérer nos ressources naturelles pour pouvoir faire face aux Américains avec la force. And that's why I'm here today, to restore Canada's promise that if you work hard, you can afford a beautiful home on a safe street in a thriving community under our proud flag. But after 3 Liberal terms, that promise is broken. Housing costs have doubled after the Liberals inflated housing demand with out-of-control immigration and money printing, while blocking housing supply with bureaucracy that drives up the cost of home building. So for the first time in our history, an entire generation of young people can't imagine buying their own house. I won't speak for them, but I would imagine many of these gentlemen here, many of the ladies and gentlemen here, who are literally building homes, can't afford to buy homes. That is the ultimate injustice. And it was never like this before the lost Liberal decade. Ça n'a jamais été le cas que les charpentiers, plombiers et électriciens qui bâtissent nos maisons n'étaient pas capables de les acheter, mais c'est le cas après les décennies perdues des libéraux. We've had the worst housing inflation in the G7 under this Liberal government. And the worst of that inflation happened while Mark Carney was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. Carney worsened the housing crisis in the United Kingdom, where he printed great sums of money and inflated the costs over there. He's been widely blamed by the British media for the housing crisis in that country, even though the Canadian media continues to cover up his disastrous overseas record. In Canada, back here in Canada, it now takes more time to save up for a down payment, 29 years in Toronto, than it used to take to pay off the whole mortgage. It's hardly a surprise then that 80% of our young people say they will never be able to afford a home. Le coût du logement a doublé après que les libéraux ont gonflé la demande avec l'immigration et l'impression de l'argent hors de contrôle. En même temps, ils ont bloqué la construction de logements, ce qui prive les Canadiens de l'offre. Donc, on a la pire inflation immobilière parmi le G7 et le deuxième pire parmi les 36 pays de l'OCDE depuis la décennie perdue des libéraux. Les Canadiens n'ont pas des moyens de vivre dans les villes où ils ont grandi et les jeunes doivent rester chez leurs parents au lieu de commencer leur vie et avoir des enfants. J'appelle ça la décennie perdue des libéraux, où le coût du logement a augmenté plus vite que dans n'importe quel pays du G7, où le coût d'une mise de fonds, de loyer et d'une hypothèque a doublé. Aujourd'hui, au Canada, il faut plus de temps pour économiser pour une mise de fonds que ça prenait pour payer toute l'hypothèque avant les libéraux. Ce n'est pas étonnant que 80% des jeunes ne peuvent plus acheter une maison. We cannot afford to prolong the lost Liberal decade. We cannot allow Mark Carney to continue the same devastating Liberal policies that created the housing hell in the first place. And we need a new Conservative government to put home buyers first for a change. And that means we need to bring homes that Canadians can afford. Today, I am announcing my plan to cut home building taxes by $100,000 per home so that Canadians can save money when they buy. I'll do this by, one, incentivizing municipalities to cut building taxes, and two, by eliminating the federal sales tax on new homes. Each of those measures will save up to $50 grand on the cost of a single home. That's a total of $100,000. In fact, the GST elimination will be even more powerful in big centers like the GTA and the Greater Vancouver area, because there housing is more expensive, and therefore the value of that tax cut will be as much as $65,000 alone, on top of the new tax cuts that I'm announcing today through these municipal incentives. My government will also require municipalities to publicly report their development charges and explain how the federal reimbursement will be used so Canadian municipalities are accountable when they reduce these fees. C'est pourquoi aujourd'hui, j'annonce mon plan pour réduire les taxes de $100 000 par logement. Je vais le faire en incitant des municipalités à réduire leurs taxes sur la construction qui augmentent le coût. Mon gouvernement va rembourser les municipalités qui réduisent leurs taxes de construction. On va leur donner 50% d'un remboursement pour chaque dollar de réduction qu'ils font. Donc, on va essayer de réduire de 50 000 $ des frais de construction pour chaque logement, en plus d'à peu près 50 000 $ en économie à cause de notre élimination de la TPS sur les nouveaux logements. Ça va aider à économiser juste à 100 000 $ pour la construction d'un logement. De plus, mon gouvernement va exiger que les municipalités rendent public leurs coûts et expliquent comment ils font pour réduire leurs frais. On va aussi insister que les municipalités libèrent le terrain et accélèrent les permis de construction afin de bâtir 15% plus de logements par an. Over three terms, the Liberal government has allowed taxes and development charges to spiral out of control, making the cost of housing even more expensive. Today, in Ontario, 30% of the cost of a new home is just direct government taxes. Sales tax, land transfer tax, development taxes. On top of that, there are thousands of dollars of soft costs like delays, zoning, consultants, lobbyists, lawyers, and countless other fees. More money from a new home today built in Canada goes to bureaucrats in office buildings than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers that actually build the homes. Here in Toronto, development charges or building taxes have gone from $30,000 to $140,000. Across Canada, development charges are up $27,000 in the last 2 years. These government costs are passed on to home buyers, turning the dream of home ownership into a nightmare. Instead of challenging these city gatekeepers who jack up development charges, the Liberals have rewarded them. Take the City of Toronto. The Liberals gave the City of Toronto $471 million as a reward for having increased their development charges by 42%. What is the consequence of this for everyday Canadians? Construction is down 39% this year in Toronto. In Victoria and Ottawa, it's the same story. More federal money to reward municipal politicians who've jacked up home building costs. They both raised their fees by 21 and 55% respectively. Both raised their fees, and resulting reductions in home building have been 21% in Ottawa and 55% in Victoria. Now, Mark Carney has publicly committed to continuing with these same policies. His present-day Liberal housing minister says that the federal government will keep giving money to municipalities who raise home building taxes. Mr. Carney has also brought in the same housing minister that gave us the worst housing costs in the history of Canada, Sean Fraser. The same Liberal MPs, same Liberal ministers, same Liberal policies, same Liberal promises that doubled housing costs. We can't double down on doubling costs. It's even the words. Mark Carney is famous for plagiarizing. Of course, he plagiarized his way through university. He's now plagiarizing Justin Trudeau. Trudeau said in 2017, we are getting the federal government back into the business of housing. Well, this week, Mark Carney said, we're getting government back in the business of building affordable homes. So it's almost a precise plagiarization of his protege. But the point is, nothing is changing. It's the same Liberal promise. The only difference is now Mr. Carney is promising a $35 billion modular home program. Well, it turns out that Brookfield is invested in modular homes. So he's got another conflict of interest that will be good for him, good for bureaucrats, but won't build any houses for Canadians. So Carney has no plan to get a single house built. He has a plan to build more Liberal bureaucracy and to profit his own company. We don't need to build bureaucracy. In Ottawa, we need to build houses in our communities. We've lived through these last 10 years of repeated promises. We should never have believed them, and we should definitely not believe them now. As I said, 3 strikes, you're out. They've had 3 terms, and a 4th will only make it worse. Mark Carney s'est publiquement engagé à poursuivre les mêmes politiques libérales qui ont doublé le coût du logement. Il a les mêmes ministres, les mêmes députés, les mêmes promesses électorales que les libéraux font depuis 10 ans. Il promet maintenant de retourner le gouvernement dans le business de construire des logements. C'est une promesse presque mot pour mot que Justin Trudeau a dit il y a 10 ans. Je cite, « Et nous n'avions pas de remis le gouvernement fédéral dans le secteur du logement. Tout serait bien pire en ce moment, a dit M. Trudeau. Et aujourd'hui, M. Carney dit « Nous remettons le gouvernement dans le secteur de la construction de logements abordables. » Presque un plagiat mot pour mot. Les mêmes politiques, les mêmes promesses, les mêmes libéraux avec des mêmes résultats. Une nouvelle bureaucratie à Ottawa ne va jamais bâtir des logements. Ils ne peuvent même pas livrer des passeports. Comment est-ce qu'on s'attend à ce qu'ils vont pouvoir bâtir des logements? C'est juste plus de gouvernement, plus de bureaucratie, plus de rêves irréalistes des libéraux avec les mêmes personnages libéraux. We don't need another pie-in-the-sky, $35 billion government bureaucracy in Ottawa to break the same promises that they've been breaking for a decade. Like Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney simply doesn't understand the struggles of ordinary Canadians who are priced out of their communities and out of the dream of home ownership. We cannot afford a fourth Liberal term of doubling housing costs. We need a new government for a change that will axe taxes, cut red tape, remove bureaucracy to build homes you can actually afford and put homeowners first for a change. We will restore the promise of home ownership. We will remove the bureaucracy to make it happen, cut the taxes by $100,000 a home, incentivize the municipalities to speed up their permits, sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build, 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 train up 350,000 brilliant young tradespeople with powerful apprenticeship programs. We'll cut, when they graduate, we'll cut their income tax by 15%. So they bring home more of their paycheck. You guys work hard. You should bring home more of your paycheck. And I'll be cutting your taxes when I'm Prime Minister so that your work finally pays off. We'll repeal the Liberal No New Pipelines and No New Development Law, C-69, so we can build things again in Canada. We will bring safety to our streets. By the way, I gather that Mark Carney is now talking about crime. This after Liberals unleashed a massive crime spree in our country with their catch and release criminal justice policy. Catch and release, C-75, allows repeat offenders out of jail within minutes of their latest arrest. House arrest under C-5, another law still in place the Liberals brought in. Mr. Carney said yesterday when he was asked about my 3 strikes you're out policy, he said, well, he thinks that he doesn't like the baseball analogy, but he does think that criminals should face the full force of the law. The problem is the Liberal laws have no force. And that's the reason why we have so much crime. Liberal laws allow the offenders to be out 60 or 70 times in a row. Don't be fooled by whatever Mark Carney promises today. The public safety minister who allowed Paul Bernardo out of a maximum security penitentiary is now Mark Carney's Liberal chief of staff. David Lametti, the Liberal justice minister who kept in catch and release bail and house arrest for rampant offenders, is now a paid advisor of Mark Carney. Electing the same Liberals for a 4th time is not going to change what they do on crime. If you want a real change on crime, what you need is a new government, a Conservative government that will lock up criminals with a 3 strikes you're out law, bring jail and not bail, ban the hard drugs, close the drug dens, give 50,000 deserving people the treatment and recovery they deserve. Si on veut un vrai changement sur la criminalité, il faut un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va mettre les vrais criminels en prison et donner un traitement à ceux et celles qui en ont besoin. C'est ça le changement dont on a besoin pour rétablir la promesse du Canada, que chacun qui travaille fort peut avoir une belle vie dans une belle maison abordable, sur une rue sécuritaire sous notre fier drapeau canadien. C'est ça, mettre le Canada d'abord pour faire changement. What we need is a new government with a real change to bring home the Canadian promise that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful and affordable home on a safe street under our proud flag. Canada first for a change. Let's bring it home. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to questions. Please say your name and outlet. Good morning, sir. Roger Collins, CHCH. Just talking about jails in this region, a lot of them are at capacity or over capacity. Your 3 strikes and you're out plan kind of means more people are going to jails. Do you have a plan to build any new ones?
No. And it's not that more people are going to jail. It's that the people that are in and out of jail already are going to stay there. You see, what's happening, we don't have a lot of criminals in Canada. That's the good news. The bad news is they're very productive. It's the same tiny group that go in and out of the revolving door. We have to reserve them a room anyway because we know they're coming back. In Vancouver today, Vancouver last year, they arrested the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. So each offender was arrested 150 times in 1 year. Those people basically have a reserved room in the prison. It's just that they keep getting released to reoffend. There's one guy in Penticton, his name is Levi. You can ask the police about him there. He does so much crime that when he's out of prison, the crime rate for the entire city goes up. That guy is in and out of jail constantly. The people that are shooting up our streets, they're in and out of jail constantly. So they're already reserved a room. What I'm saying is get rid of the revolving door and replace it with an iron gate so that they don't get out. You know, when Prime Minister Harper was in office, we passed major crackdown on crime. And the Liberals said, you're going to have to build these mega prisons to accommodate all the criminals. You know what happened? Not only did crime go down by 25%, incarcerations went down. Because what we did is lock up the rampant offenders who were going to be in and out anyway. For them, it's like the Hotel California. They check out, but they never leave. And then the rest of them were scared that there'd be consequences. There is no fear among criminals today. Police officers tell me that criminals don't even bother trying to avoid getting caught. They go in and rob liquor stores without a mask on, and they walk slowly out the door because they know there will be no consequences even if they are caught. As soon as there are consequences, the softer, less habitual criminals, they'll find something else to do because they'll know it's not worth losing 10 years of their life behind bars. And then the rampant offenders, they will be locked up for good where they belong. That is how we're going to stop the crime. Look, the choice is this. After the lost Liberal decade of rampaging crime in our communities, are you going to give them a 4th Liberal term, or is it time for a change to put law-abiding Canadians first with a new Conservative government? Thank you.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Merci. On n'aura pas besoin de plus de prisons parce que les criminels qu'on va garder en prison entrent et sortent toujours. Ils ont presque une chambre réservée aux prisons parce qu'ils refont et ils refont les mêmes crimes. On n'a pas beaucoup de criminels au Canada. C'est juste que chacun parmi eux est très productif. Ce dont on a besoin, c'est de les garder en prison. Il y a, par exemple, à Vancouver, les mêmes 40 criminels ont été arrêtés 6000 fois. Donc, si on garde ces mêmes 40 personnes en prison au lieu de les libérer une fois après l'autre, ça ne va pas augmenter la population en prison, ça va simplement les garder là. Donc, quand M. Harper a mis en place des mêmes politiques, on a vu une réduction de criminalité de 25%. En plus, moins de personnes en prison parce que les criminels moins sérieux ont décidé de ne plus faire le crime à cause des conséquences réelles. Ça va réduire les crimes. Après 10 ans des libéraux, est-ce qu'on veut un 4e mandat de crime et de chaos, ou est-ce qu'il faut que ça change avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va mettre la sécurité des Canadiens d'abord? Merci.
Thank you. We'll go to the next question.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. This is
Good day.
Nitin Chopra from Prime Asia.
Hi, Nitin. Good to see you.
Thank you. Mr. Poilievre, crime is a serious issue, and you recently held a Stop the Crime rally.
Yes.
And for the last 5 years, we covered so much of crime incidents, every day, multiple incidents, car thefts to home invasions, and in last 10 days, there was more than 6 deaths inside the house shooting, and those people we
6
lost.
deaths? Where?
in GTA,
In GTA.
and the businessmen are targeted. Earlier it was extortions, now it's a shootout. And you recently announced the new 3 strikes. You are out of law. If you are serious in the crime, my questions here, because most of the police associations, most of the law enforcement agencies are endorsing you. And if you're serious in stopping the crime, the question is, why can't we punish the criminals on the first conviction? Why can't we have the laws like Dubai or a US? And why can't we have the self-protection laws here in Canada? Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. And you're right. It has been absolute crime and chaos in the GTA after the lost Liberal decade. And we cannot trust the same Liberals who caused the problem to fix it. We need a new Conservative government that will lock up the criminals and stop the crime for a change. Now, your question was why not 1 strike instead of 3 strikes? Well, there will be mandatory jail time again for serious crimes, even on the first offense. So I have said that we will have mandatory life sentences for anyone caught selling more than 40 milligrams of fentanyl, engaged in human trafficking, or gun smuggling. Violent offenses will once again have mandatory prison times and of over 10 years. But what I'm also proposing is that anyone with 3 convictions for serious offenses will get a mandatory prison sentence of 10 years to life, and that they will only ever be released after that 10 years if they prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're no longer a risk. And the only way they can do that is through impeccable behavior, consistent clean drug tests, and by learning an employable skill in prison that shows they'll be able to get a job and contribute to society. If they don't do those things, a 3-time offender will literally never get out of prison. And so this will be the biggest crackdown on crime in Canadian history. We will be locking up the criminals for good, and your community, Nitin, will be safe once again for a change. Thank you.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
La question, c'est pourquoi 3 au lieu d'1. Premièrement, on a déjà annoncé qu'on va mettre en place des peines obligatoires pour les criminels sérieux, que ce soit le trafic d'armes, de fentanyl ou le traite de personnes, que ce soit d'autres crimes violents. Les crimes faits aux femmes et aux enfants seront punis avec des peines obligatoires aussi. Pour la première fois. Mais on ajoute en ça 3 coups et c'est fini. Ça va garantir que les criminels vont rester en prison, peut-être pour la vie, mais au moins 10 ans après la 3e fois. Et la seule façon qu'ils vont pouvoir se libérer, c'est en prouvant qu'ils ont changé, que leur comportement est parfait, et que leur test le test de drogue montre aucun usage des drogues dans la prison. C'est comme ça qu'on va éviter les crimes futurs et ramener la sécurité publique ici au Canada pour faire changement. On ne peut pas élire les mêmes libéraux qui ont causé le crime et le chaos pour un 4e mandat. Il faut que ça change avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur. Merci.
Thank you. We'll go to the next question.
Good morning, Rachel Aiello, CTV News. We've met people at your rallies who don't believe the polls. Do you believe the polls, and can you commit today that you will respect the results of the election no matter the outcome?
Yes, and that decision will be based on whether, after a lost Liberal decade of rising crime and costs and a falling economy under America's thumb, we can afford a 4th Liberal term, or whether we want change with a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, stop crime, unleash our resources so we can bring home our jobs and stand up to Washington from a position of strength. Thank you.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, merci. Le choix devant les Canadiens va être, si on veut, après la décennie perdue des libéraux qui ont augmenté la crime et les coûts et affaiblit notre économie sous la dépendance des Américains, est-ce qu'on va leur donner un 4e mandat ou est-ce qu'il faut que ça change avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va couper les taxes et les impôts, stopper les crimes, bâtir des logements, libérer nos ressources pour emmener nos emplois et faire face aux Américains avec la force?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We'll now take a question from
Oui,
the
j'ai
phone line.
déjà répondu. Oui, évidemment.
We'll take a question from the phone line, and this will be the last question.
What's that?
We'll take a question from the phone line,
Thank you.
and that will be the last question.
We have a question from Pascal Vasson from CFL. We will take one question and no follow-up. Is that your question?
Oui, bon matin, Monsieur Poilievre. Je voulais vous questionner sur le français de hauts fonctionnaires dans la fonction publique. Il y a eu le cas récemment d'un faible nombre de dirigeants à la Banque du Canada qui ne maîtrisaient pas le français. Donc, ma question pour vous, est-ce qu'un gouvernement Poilievre obligerait les PDG et les dirigeants de sociétés d'État, comme Air Canada, par exemple, ou Via Rail, à être obligatoirement bilingues?
Je dois avouer, le son n'était pas tout à fait clair. J'ai entendu presque 60%. Si vous pouvez répéter la question, ce serait bon.
Oui, dites-moi si ça ne fonctionne pas, mais je voulais vous questionner sur le français des hauts fonctionnaires dans la fonction publique. Il y a récemment eu le cas d'un faible nombre de hauts dirigeants à la Banque du Canada qui ne maîtrisent pas le français. Donc, ma question pour vous, ça serait est-ce qu'un gouvernement Poilievre obligerait les PDG et les dirigeants des sociétés d'État comme Air Canada ou Via Rail, par exemple, à être obligatoirement bilingues?
C'est sûr que les cadres dans la fonction publique et les agences et entreprises d'État doivent pouvoir s'exprimer dans les deux langues officielles parce que leurs travailleurs sont francophones et anglophones et leurs consommateurs sont francophones et anglophones. Donc, nous, les conservateurs, nous respectons la loi sur les langues officielles et on va faire en sorte que les hauts fonctionnaires dans tous les postes liés au gouvernement vont pouvoir livrer les services et travailler avec des employés dans les deux langues officielles.
Thank you. This concludes the press conference today.
Thank you very much. All right. Good to see you guys. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Thank you very much, guys. Great to see you.